Brian Winnekins at the NAFB convention in Kansas City, and joining us is Scott Shallady. And thank you to our broadcast sponsors, including Annabis Silo of Durand, also the Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, and Growth Energy. Now, Scott, as you can tell, is wearing a unique coat or unique shirt, and we're going to find out why, as he is on the Chicago Board of Trade. He's one of the traders there. And Scott, thanks for joining us. Why are you dressed like a Holstein cow?
Well, you know, I'm one of the few guys down there that still has a family farm. In the 80s and 90s, we milked 200 head of cattle 3 times a day. If you've ever been to the Board of Trade or the CME groups, we've got visitors galleries. And my father started in the business in 1962, and he did something unique back then, but he wanted to remind the folks in the visitors galleries that this is not Las Vegas. The exchange performs a very important economic function, and there's a producer, there's a consumer, there's an end user, there's people all along the way that need and rely on these products, and it's not something to be taken lightly, and it's not a big place to gamble. So he wore this jacket to remind folks that there is a real person at the end of this road that needs this, and we're trying to take seasonality out of it and give everybody a fair price and find a price for everybody. So when my father retired, I took up the reins and wore the jacket as well. So it's been down there for a very long time to remind, and we still do get a ton of visitors, and we can remind them every day that, you know, this is a real place of business that serves an economic function for the producers out there.
Now, I have been to the Board of Trade. Organized chaos might be friendly. For those that have never been there, what is it? Just describe what it's like in the pit.
Well, you know, at times it can be very chaotic, and it also can be kind of dangerous. You know, I played college football for the University of Colorado, and when I was in the business 26 years ago, I was hired kind of because of that. Maybe not for my brains, but more for your brawn, because it mattered to be able to handle yourself and be heard, and to get the trade for your customer and do the best job you could. And at times those pits were so full and so busy that we were front to back, and I would have the sweat from the guy in front of me off of his back on my chest, and the sweat on my back would be on the chest of the guy behind me, and we had to keep our hands over our head to write because we couldn't bring them down. It was that packed. So you had to be able to handle yourself, be able to think on your feet. So a lot of times they would hire athletes, and larger athletes, because those were the types of things that they can make quick decisions. They could be wrong and get over it fast. You know, miss a tackle in front of 70,000 people, you got to get back in the huddle. So a lot of times that was the type of guy. Now it's gone a little bit more cerebral now because the floor has gone a little bit more electronic. But back in the day, it was kind of like being a gladiator.
Again, we're talking with Scott Shallady. He is a trader at the Board of Trade. Now, what I think a lot of people don't realize is there's all kinds of yelling, there's all kinds of screaming, but there's also a lot of hand signals, and that's how all this work gets done, at least in the pit.
Yeah, and you know, we pretty much can talk from 30 or 40 feet away and know exactly what the other guy's saying. So yeah, the hand signals are very important. And you know what's interesting to the general, to the listening audience, is the fact that the hand signals that we use in Chicago are also pretty much the same in New York, and they were pretty much the same in Europe and Asia. So it's like riding a bike. Maybe the track changes just a little bit, but those hand signals are almost universal around the world. And the signs for the different months, the signs for how many contracts, and the signs for the different firms you're dealing with really were kind of standardized, like its own little language. So yeah, we use those almost exclusively because you can't hear what the other person's saying 30 feet away. You have to be able to use your hands to get everything done.
Of course, the biggest change at the Board of Trade has been, and at the Mercantile Exchange, has been electronic trading. And I've also been at the Kansas City Board of Trade, where there's someone typing on what basically is a computer, at least darn close. That's really, and it's not as loud anymore. You just hear people typing it. It's almost kind of surreal.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of sad, but you know, maybe there's a place someday for the homemade furniture maker and IKEA, you know, because that's what we're looking at here. And listening to the air conditioning is not as much fun as listening to the screams and loudness of the trading floor. But it's not really up to us. It's not up to the exchange. It's up to the customer. And the customer is going to dictate where those orders are executed. And still right now in Chicago, a majority of them are still executed in the open outcry environment. But slowly but surely, as the customer changes and the Xbox customers come along, we'll see that more and more migrate to the screen. But that's okay. If that's the way it's going to be, that, you know, we'll adapt and survive. But the exchange doesn't go away. It's just the way that we do the business changes. That's all.
Finally, I guess one last question. Now, the coat also helps you be seen by the traders, I'm assuming, because they're going to know it's you, because you're probably the only one. But for those that go to the exchange, they're going to see all kinds of colored coats. What do the colors mean?
Generally speaking, for instance, ADM is in royal blue. Everybody that works for ADM will be in that jacket. Cargill was red. They're now part of JP Morgan, and JP Morgan's all green. So you can still pretty much tell the different companies by their colors, and then support staff all wear one color. They would wear, say, gold jackets. So gold jackets would be clerks, and then each firm has its own color. So that was how it was done. And then so if you were an independent, like myself, you didn't have a firm to associate with, so you had to wear something to get attention. My father wore the cow jacket, which I wear now, but there's other folks down there wear flames or habanero chilies or whatever. So there's a bunch of different types, but it's all to try to garner some attention and get the trade that you're looking for.
Great. Well, Scott, some great information. Wow, it still sounds like it's just as much fun as when I had to see it over 10 years ago. Again, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Scott Shallady is with the Chicago Board of Trade and Mercantile Exchanges. I'm Brian Winnikin.